This session will cover how to send out assignments to your canvassers out in the field based on the cut turf that you have just previously proceeded with. To begin the assignment process, go up to the Assign icon and click. All of the turfs that you have already cut will be listed. So what we'll do is we'll select the one that we had just created, click on Go, and you'll get a new screen that essentially is based on all the properties for this assignment itself. We'll start off with the icons along the top, go from left to right, so we'll select a due date. This is the date that the assignment will be cut off from access on the canvassers. So after this date has hit, they will not be able to access the information from that point on. So we'll select our date, go to message. This can be just a generic message to the volunteers. Next, we'll select users and permissions. This is based on the properties or the permissions that you want for your canvassers to have. This has no bearing on accessing Voter List Online or the VoterIQ screens in here. This is just the properties and permissions that they have outside the system to be able to access this assignment. Essentially, what this will allow them to do is to get access to the paper walk list if you add that to here, or this particular assignment on the mobile app or the mobile web portion. What it will also allow them to do is to tier off the volunteers to be able to cut turf for lower level volunteers as well. So for instance, if you have a precinct captain who is wanting to actually cut up turf into neighborhoods, then you can also grant that permission to these people as well. So our first step is we'll go to Add, and you can either create a new volunteer or select one that's already existing, and we'll select an existing one. If you need to create a new one, it will highlight down here and you just enter in the information that is appropriate to that person. We will select. Now the properties for each one of your listed volunteers will show over here on the right side. To explain what these permissions are, this is the ability to enter the data from the turf cut, from the walk list, or the phone survey. We typically recommend that you select all three boxes for the entry options here. If you are selecting the reports option to be able to print out a walk list or a phone sheet, then you need to select these options here, as well as selecting the reports that you want them to actually have. We have some generic reports in the system, but typically these are customized from client to client. So before actually selecting the reports, you may want to run by some of the options that are in the system, test them out, see if they work. If not, let us know and we'll be happy to actually customize the report to fit the layout that you need. What I have in here is some samples. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and select the samples. And as far as the assign option, this is where you have the ability to tier off into lower levels. So again, if this is a precinct captain or a county captain, and you want them the ability to cut the turf and the ability to sign this information out to lower level volunteers, you would select the assign option there. For each volunteer you can add volunteers to that same canvas, but they will also need to have all of these properties set for each volunteer. So if I go in here and add another volunteer, I will need to go through and do the same thing for that person as well. And for this, what I will give is just a very basic access for this person here. This person will not be able to cut turf and assign it to any lower level volunteers. What we generally recommend on the assignments is to also include your own email as well as a user on here. That way, if your volunteers have messages or any sort of issues or problems with the assignment itself, you can actually access that exact same assignment and see exactly what they see. So this is just a troubleshooting way to be able to see what they're seeing. And then lastly, you have the attachments option, which is if you're attaching a phone script for phone calls, or if you're attaching any instructions. We also provide a small manual for your volunteers to be able to see to install the mobile app and how to use the mobile web page interface as well. So whatever you need to attach, you can attach a Word document to the screen. And your volunteers will be able to pull that information up from the email that gets sent to them. So now that we have that on there, we can go ahead and create the assignment. And then your volunteers will then have access to the email for that assignment itself. The links that they need to access the information if they're using the web interface are right here on the screen. You can click here for the dashboard for the assignment. You can also access the web interface if you're using this instead of the mobile app. Or if you're needing to use the individual voter lookup, for instance, if you have people who are not in the assignment itself that you're wanting to add the data points to, you can use these links here to be able to access that information. Provided that they have installed the mobile app on their phone, this information will show once they essentially refresh the data on that app as well. So whatever you name that, it will then show in the app. So this covers how to actually assign the data to your canvassers, your volunteers out in the field through VoterIQ.